Human connection is one of the most intricate aspects of our lives. It starts with a spark, a moment where two people see something in each other that feels extraordinary. In the early stages of a relationship, every interaction feels alive with possibility. There's curiosity, a desire to know more, to be seen, and to see the other fully. But over time, the dynamic shifts. That initial spark often gives way to a different kind of connection, one rooted in routine, responsibility, and familiarity. And while this evolution can create deep intimacy, it can also bring challenges. The truth is, connection is not static. It ebbs and flows, influenced by countless factors: stress, time, external pressures, and even our own emotional patterns. In a marriage or a long-term relationship, the connection that once felt effortless now requires intentional effort. It's easy to assume that once we've found our partner, the bond will take care of itself. But like anything worth having, it needs nurturing, attention, and renewal. What makes human connection even more complex is that it's shaped by both our inner world and our external environment. When life feels overwhelming, whether it's because of work stress, financial strain, or personal insecurities, it's often those closest to us who bear the brunt of our frustrations. Not because they're less important, but because they're always there. They become the safe place where we let down our guard, even if it sometimes means letting our appreciation for them fall to the wayside. This complexity grows when unspoken needs or unresolved emotions linger in the background. A husband, for instance, might admire another woman not because she's better, but because she represents something he feels is missing in his current connection. Maybe it's validation, excitement, or simply a different kind of energy. And for the wife, it's not unusual to feel hurt or unseen, especially when the very foundation of their relationship feels undervalued. At the core of this is the profound truth that human connection is as much about the work we do internally as it is about the way we show up for each other. It's about recognizing that the person we've chosen and who has chosen us isn't just a fixture in our lives. They're a dynamic, evolving human being with needs, desires, and emotions that deserve attention and care. When we forget this, the connection becomes strained, and the beauty of what we have gets overshadowed by the allure of what we think we're missing. But here's the hope: complexity doesn't mean impossibility. It means there's depth, potential, and room to grow. And the deeper we dive into understanding and nurturing our connections, the more we uncover about ourselves and the people we love. That's where true appreciation begins. Familiarity is a double-edged sword in relationships. On one hand, it offers comfort, security, and a sense of belonging. It allows us to be seen in our most vulnerable, unfiltered state. There's beauty in being with someone who knows your quirks, your preferences, and even the way you like your coffee in the morning. But familiarity also carries a quiet risk. It can make us blind to the extraordinary in the very people we cherish most. Over time, what once felt novel becomes routine. The small, thoughtful gestures that once seemed like grand acts of love can start to fade into the background. The way your partner's laugh used to light up your day might now feel like white noise in the hum of daily life. And it's not because the value of these things has diminished, it's because we've grown accustomed to them. Our brains are wired to adapt to our environments, and in doing so, we sometimes stop noticing the magic that's right in front of us. This is why familiarity can so easily lead to complacency. When we feel secure in a relationship, it's tempting to believe that the work is done, that appreciation can be put on autopilot. But the truth is, relationships don't thrive on the foundation of what's already known. They flourish when we continue to explore, to notice, and to celebrate the nuances of each other, even the ones we think we've already memorized. Familiarity can also create blind spots. In the comfort of knowing someone so well, we may stop asking the deeper questions. We assume we know what our partner is thinking or feeling because we've been through so much together. But people are not static. They grow, evolve, and change in ways that often go unnoticed when we've convinced ourselves there's nothing new to learn. This assumption can create a quiet distance, even in the closest of relationships. What complicates this dynamic further is that the comfort of familiarity often makes us forget to express gratitude. We stop saying thank you for the everyday things because they become expected. We forget to marvel at the way our partner shows up for us because it feels routine. And when gratitude goes unspoken, it's easy for one or both partners to feel unseen, unappreciated, or even invisible. Yet there's a hidden gift in familiarity if we choose to see it. It's the opportunity to deepen our connection, to go beyond surface-level admiration and step into a space of profound knowing. It requires intention, taking the time to notice the details, to acknowledge the effort, and to rekindle the sense of wonder we felt in the beginning. It's about realizing that familiarity doesn't have to mean the end of discovery. The real challenge is to keep looking at your partner with fresh eyes, even after years of shared experiences. It's about choosing to see them not just as the person you know so well, but as someone who is still growing, still surprising, and still worthy of your full attention. Familiarity isn't the problem, it's how we respond to it that determines whether it becomes a barrier or a bridge in our relationships. Novelty has a magnetic pull. It taps into our innate curiosity and desire for exploration, offering a sense of excitement and possibility that feels fresh and invigorating. In the context of relationships, novelty can present itself as a powerful force, tempting us to look beyond the familiar to something or someone that feels different, uncharted, or thrilling. It's not that the person in a committed relationship has stopped valuing their partner, rather. The allure of novelty often reflects a longing for something they feel is missing in their day-to-day life. This pull toward novelty is deeply rooted in human psychology. When something is new, our brain rewards us with a surge of dopamine, the feel-good chemical associated with pleasure and motivation. It's why we feel so alive during the early stages of a relationship, when every glance, touch, and conversation feels like an adventure. But over time, as familiarity sets in, those dopamine-fueled highs naturally wane. What once felt electrifying now feels predictable, not because it's less meaningful, but because the brain has adjusted to it. In long-term relationships, the absence of novelty can create a sense of longing, not necessarily for a different partner, but for the feelings that novelty once brought. This is where the allure of something new can become dangerous. A passing interaction with someone outside the relationship might reignite those dormant feelings of excitement and validation, leading to a comparison that is often unfair. The new person hasn't been through the daily grind, the shared challenges, or the unspoken compromises that define a lasting relationship. They represent possibility, not reality. The danger lies in the illusion that novelty is inherently better. It's easy to romanticize what's unfamiliar because it doesn't come with the complexities, vulnerabilities, and imperfections that accompany deep, enduring connection. What's new feels effortless, but that's only because it hasn't yet been tested by time. Real relationships require work, and the allure of novelty can make that work feel heavier than it actually is. What often goes unnoticed is that the desire for novelty isn't always about the other person at all. It's often about what we want to feel within ourselves, alive, noticed, desired, or valued. Novelty gives us a mirror to see ourselves differently, to feel a spark that we may have forgotten was even possible. This realization can be both humbling and empowering. It's a reminder that the spark we're chasing isn't external, it's something we can cultivate within our existing relationships if we approach them with fresh eyes and renewed intention. The key to navigating the allure of novelty lies in self-awareness. It's about recognizing the difference between a fleeting attraction and a deeper longing for connection. It's about asking ourselves what we're truly seeking and whether that's something we can nurture within the relationship we've already built. Novelty doesn't have to mean stepping outside the relationship, it can also mean rediscovering the magic within it. This requires effort, yes, but it's effort that pays dividends. It means planning a date that feels different from the routine. It means being curious about your partner in the way you were when you first met, asking questions that uncover layers you haven't explored before. It means surprising them, not with grand gestures, but with the kind of thoughtfulness that says, I see you and I still want to know more about you. The allure of novelty doesn't have to be a threat. It can be an invitation, a call to reconnect, to reignite, and to remember that the spark you're searching for isn't lost. It's still there, waiting to be uncovered in the person you've chosen to walk through life with. Cultural conditioning plays a profound role in shaping how we view relationships, love, and appreciation. From an early age, we're exposed to narratives through media, family dynamics, and societal expectations that teach us what to value, how to behave, and what to expect from our partners. These narratives often become ingrained, influencing our perceptions and behaviors in ways we may not even realize. One of the most pervasive influences of cultural conditioning is the portrayal of idealized relationships in movies, TV shows, and social media. These portrayals often emphasize the excitement of new love, grand romantic gestures, and picture-perfect moments. Rarely do they show the mundane, day-to-day realities of maintaining a relationship over the years. This creates an expectation that love should always feel exhilarating, leaving little room for the quiet, steady kind of love that is the foundation of lasting partnerships. In this idealized framework, people can begin to measure their own relationships against unrealistic standards. A man might look at his wife and, without even realizing it, compare her to the polished, flawless women he sees in advertisements or online. Meanwhile, a woman might internalize messages that her worth is tied to her ability to look a certain way or perform specific roles within the relationship. These comparisons, fueled by cultural narratives, can erode appreciation and amplify dissatisfaction, even when the relationship itself is healthy and strong. Cultural conditioning also reinforces gender roles that impact how appreciation is expressed and received. For instance, men are often taught to equate their value with their ability to provide and protect, while women are encouraged to nurture and support. While these roles aren't inherently negative, they can become limiting when partners feel boxed into expectations that don't align with their true selves. A husband might feel unappreciated if his efforts to provide go unnoticed, while a wife might feel undervalued if her emotional labor is taken for granted. Moreover, cultural norms can normalize behaviors that hinder genuine connection. For example, the narrative of the grass is greener on the other side often perpetuates the idea that if a relationship feels stagnant or challenging, the solution lies in seeking something or someone new. This mindset overlooks the reality that every relationship requires effort and that novelty is fleeting. By encouraging a disposable approach to relationships, cultural conditioning undermines the value of commitment and growth. Another layer of complexity comes from cultural variations in how appreciation is expressed. In some cultures, verbal affirmations like "I love you" are common and expected, while in others, love is demonstrated more through actions or shared experiences. These differences can create misunderstandings, particularly in multicultural relationships where partners may have been conditioned to express and interpret appreciation in distinct ways. Cultural conditioning also impacts how we view ourselves within relationships. Women, in particular, are often subjected to messages about needing to look a certain way to remain desirable. This can lead to feelings of inadequacy, especially when these unattainable standards are juxtaposed against the natural changes that come with age, parenthood, or stress. Men, on the other hand, may feel pressure to suppress vulnerability and maintain an image of strength, making it harder for them to communicate their own emotional needs. Despite its challenges, cultural conditioning isn't an unchangeable force. It's a lens through which we see the world, and lenses can be adjusted. The first step is awareness. When we understand how cultural narratives shape our expectations and behaviors, we can begin to question them. Why do we expect our partners to behave a certain way? Are those expectations truly ours, or have they been inherited from external influences? Rewriting these narratives requires intentionality. It means choosing to value the reality of a relationship over the fantasy of perfection. It means recognizing that appreciation isn't about grand gestures, but about seeing and valuing the everyday efforts that keep the relationship alive. It's about creating your own definition of love and partnership, one that is authentic, sustainable, and rooted in mutual respect. By challenging cultural conditioning, we give ourselves permission to appreciate our partners and ourselves for who we truly are, rather than who we've been conditioned to believe we should be. This shift doesn't just strengthen relationships, it liberates us to experience love in its most genuine, fulfilling form. Communication is the heartbeat of any relationship. It is the bridge that connects two individuals, allowing them to share their thoughts, emotions, and needs. But while it seems simple in theory, effective communication is one of the most challenging aspects of maintaining a healthy relationship. It's not just about talking, it's about understanding, listening, and being willing to engage with honesty and vulnerability. At its core, communication is about creating a space where both partners feel seen, heard, and valued. This requires more than exchanging words, it demands intention. In relationships, much of the tension or distance that arises comes not from a lack of love, but from a breakdown in how that love is expressed and understood. When couples stop communicating effectively, they risk creating emotional gaps that are easily filled by assumptions, misunderstandings, or unmet expectations. One of the biggest barriers to meaningful communication is the assumption that our partner should just know what we need or how we feel. This mindset, while common, is deeply flawed. People are not mind readers, and even the most intuitive partner cannot always guess what's happening in someone else's inner world. When needs go unspoken, they often go unmet, leading to resentment or feelings of neglect. The simple act of articulating those needs, whether it's a desire for more quality time, words of affirmation, or even just a moment of acknowledgement, can transform the dynamic of a relationship. Listening is another critical component of communication, and yet it's often overlooked. Many of us listen with the intent to respond, not to understand. We may jump in to defend ourselves, offer solutions, or redirect the conversation without fully hearing what our partner is trying to say. This creates a cycle where one or both partners feel dismissed or invalidated, further widening the emotional divide. True listening requires patience and presence. It's about setting aside distractions, suspending judgment, and focusing on the emotions behind the words being spoken. Communication also involves nonverbal cues, which can sometimes speak louder than words. A partner's tone of voice, body language, or facial expressions often reveal more than what they're saying aloud. Being attuned to these subtle signals allows for a deeper understanding of what's truly being communicated. For instance, a quiet sigh or crossed arms might signal frustration or hurt, even if the words themselves sound neutral. Learning to interpret and respond to these cues with empathy is a skill that strengthens connection. Another challenge in communication is the fear of conflict. Many couples avoid difficult conversations because they worry about arguments or hurt feelings. However, avoiding conflict doesn't eliminate it, it merely postpones it, often amplifying its impact when it finally surfaces. Healthy communication isn't about avoiding disagreements, it's about approaching them constructively. It's recognizing that conflict, when handled with respect, can be an opportunity for growth and deeper understanding. Vulnerability is perhaps the most transformative aspect of communication. To communicate vulnerably is to share not just what you think, but what you feel. It means exposing your fears, insecurities, and desires, even when it feels uncomfortable or risky. Vulnerability is the antidote to emotional distance, but it requires trust and courage. When one partner opens up, it often invites the other to do the same, creating a cycle of mutual connection and intimacy. However, communication isn't just about addressing challenges or resolving conflicts, it's also about celebrating each other. Expressing gratitude, sharing compliments, and acknowledging your partner's efforts can breathe new life into a relationship. Often, couples focus so much on what's wrong that they forget to highlight what's right. A simple thank you or I appreciate you can go a long way in reinforcing the bond between partners. Finally, effective communication is a practice, not a destination. It evolves as individuals and relationships grow. What worked in the early stages of a relationship may need to be adjusted as life circumstances change. Whether it's carving out time for regular check-ins, learning each other's love languages, or seeking support through therapy or counseling, communication requires ongoing commitment. When couples prioritize communication, they create a foundation of trust, respect, and understanding. They learn to navigate the complexities of their relationship with grace and resilience. Most importantly, they foster a connection that allows both partners to feel truly known and valued, a connection that can withstand the inevitable challenges life brings. Unresolved emotional pain is a silent force that can shape the dynamics of a relationship in profound ways. It often lingers beneath the surface, influencing behaviors, reactions, and patterns of interaction without either partner fully understanding its impact. Whether it stems from past relationships, childhood experiences, or wounds inflicted within the current partnership, unresolved pain has a way of coloring how we perceive and respond to the people closest to us. At its core, emotional pain is the result of unmet needs or unprocessed hurt. It could be the disappointment of feeling unloved, the sting of betrayal, or the ache of abandonment. When these wounds aren't acknowledged or healed, they don't simply disappear, they take root. They may manifest as resentment, withdrawal, defensiveness, or even anger. And because relationships require vulnerability, they often become the stage where these old wounds are most visible. One of the most challenging aspects of unresolved pain is how it distorts perception. When someone has been hurt in the past, they may begin to see the world and their partner through the lens of that hurt. A harmless comment might be interpreted as criticism. A missed call might feel like rejection. Over time, these misinterpretations create a cycle where one partner's reactions reinforce the other's defenses, deepening the divide between them. Unresolved emotional pain also has a way of creating patterns. For example, someone who has experienced abandonment might develop a fear of being left, leading them to cling tightly to their partner or, paradoxically, push them away to avoid the risk of rejection. Similarly, someone who has been betrayed might struggle to trust even when their partner has done nothing to warrant suspicion. These patterns are not conscious choices, they are protective mechanisms born out of past pain. But in the context of a relationship, they can feel like walls preventing true intimacy. What makes unresolved pain especially tricky is that it often goes unspoken. Many people carry their wounds in silence, either because they fear being judged, dismissed, or misunderstood, or because they haven't fully recognized the source of their pain. This lack of communication creates an emotional chasm. One partner may sense something is wrong but feel powerless to address it, while the other struggles with emotions they can't fully articulate. The pain doesn't just affect the individual carrying it, it impacts the entire relationship. It can lead to unmet emotional needs on both sides, as the person carrying the pain may become less emotionally available, while their partner feels increasingly shut out. Over time, this disconnect can erode the foundation of the relationship, leaving both individuals feeling isolated and unappreciated. Healing unresolved pain begins with awareness. It requires an honest examination of the emotions and patterns that are influencing the relationship. This is not easy work. It often means revisiting uncomfortable memories or acknowledging feelings that have been buried for years. But without this step, the pain remains a barrier to connection. Once the pain is acknowledged, the next step is to express it. This is where communication becomes vital. Sharing feelings with a partner not in the heat of an argument, but in a calm, intentional setting can open the door to understanding and support. Statements like, "When this happens, it reminds me of a time when I felt," can help partners see the connection between past wounds and present reactions, fostering empathy rather than defensiveness. For many, healing also requires professional support. Therapists or counselors can provide a safe space to explore unresolved pain, identify its roots, and develop strategies for coping and growth. They can also help couples navigate the complexities of supporting each other through the healing process, ensuring that neither partner feels overwhelmed or solely responsible for the other's emotional well-being. It's also important to recognize that healing is a journey, not a one-time event. Unresolved pain doesn't vanish overnight, but it can diminish over time with patience, effort, and self-compassion. As healing progresses, the walls created by pain begin to come down, making room for deeper trust, vulnerability, and connection. Ultimately, addressing unresolved emotional pain is not just about repairing the past, it's about creating a healthier future. It's about breaking free from patterns that no longer serve us and choosing to engage with our partners from a place of love rather than fear. When we confront and heal our pain, we not only liberate ourselves, we open the door to a relationship that is richer, stronger, and more fulfilling than we ever thought possible. Self-awareness is the foundation of any meaningful relationship, yet it is often one of the most overlooked aspects of personal growth. It is the ability to understand your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors and recognize how they influence the dynamics of your partnership. Without self-awareness, we move through relationships on autopilot, reacting instead of reflecting and unintentionally creating patterns that can harm both ourselves and those we love. In relationships, self-awareness begins with understanding your emotional triggers. These are the moments when a seemingly small event, an offhand comment, a missed text, a particular tone of voice provokes an outsized emotional reaction. These triggers are rarely about the present moment instead. They are rooted in past experiences, unhealed wounds, or unmet needs. Without self-awareness, we project these unresolved issues onto our partner, blaming them for feelings that may not be theirs to own. For instance, if someone has a history of feeling abandoned, they may react defensively or cling tightly when their partner needs personal space. On the surface, this behavior might look like jealousy or insecurity, but underneath, it's a fear of reliving a painful experience. Self-awareness helps us pause in these moments, recognize the deeper story behind our reaction, and choose a response that aligns with our values rather than our fears. Self-awareness also involves understanding how our beliefs and expectations shape the way we navigate relationships. Many of these beliefs are formed in childhood, influenced by family dynamics, cultural norms, and early experiences. For example, someone raised in a household where affection was rarely expressed might struggle to offer or receive love openly, even if they deeply care for their partner. Without self-awareness, these patterns remain unconscious, perpetuating cycles of misunderstanding and unmet needs. In addition to recognizing personal patterns, self-awareness requires an honest evaluation of your role in the relationship. It's tempting to focus on what your partner is doing wrong or what they could do better, but true growth comes from looking inward. Are you communicating your needs clearly or expecting your partner to read your mind? Are you showing appreciation for their efforts or taking them for granted? Are you creating space for connection or allowing distractions to take priority? These questions can be uncomfortable, but they are essential for fostering accountability and growth. Another key aspect of self-awareness is emotional regulation. Relationships often bring up strong emotions, love, joy, frustration, sadness, and how we manage those emotions can make or break the connection. Self-awareness helps us identify when we're about to say something out of anger or defensiveness, giving us the chance to pause, reflect, and choose a more constructive approach. It doesn't mean suppressing emotions, rather, it means responding to them with intention instead of letting them control us. Self-awareness also opens the door to empathy, both for yourself and your partner. When you understand your own struggles and imperfections, you're better equipped to extend grace to others. You begin to see your partner's behaviors not as personal attacks, but as reflections of their own experiences and emotions. This shift creates space for compassion, even in moments of conflict or misunderstanding. The journey towards self-awareness is ongoing. It requires curiosity, humility, and a willingness to face uncomfortable truths about yourself. Practices like journaling, mindfulness, and therapy can be invaluable tools for developing self-awareness. Journaling allows you to reflect on your thoughts and emotions, uncovering patterns that might otherwise go unnoticed. Mindfulness helps you stay present, observing your reactions without judgment. Therapy provides a safe space to explore deeper issues and gain insights into your behaviors and beliefs. While self-awareness is deeply personal, its impact extends far beyond the individual. When you show up in a relationship with clarity about who you are and what you need, you create a foundation of trust and authenticity. You model vulnerability, inviting your partner to do the same. You take responsibility for your actions, reducing blame and resentment. And perhaps most importantly, you create the possibility of a partnership where both people can grow not by trying to change each other, but by supporting each other in becoming the best versions of themselves. Ultimately, self-awareness is not about achieving perfection, it's about striving for growth. It's about recognizing that the work you do on yourself is not just for your benefit, it's a gift to your partner and your relationship. By investing in self-awareness, you create a space where love can flourish, not as a static feeling, but as an evolving, dynamic connection rooted in understanding, respect, and mutual care. Rebuilding connection and appreciation in a relationship is both a challenge and an opportunity for transformation. It requires intention, effort, and a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths while embracing vulnerability. Over time, as life's demands, routines, and conflicts take their toll, partners may begin to drift apart, leaving feelings of disconnection and neglect in their wake. However, the process of rebuilding isn't about returning to what once was, it's about creating a deeper, more authentic bond grounded in mutual respect and gratitude. The first step in rebuilding connection is acknowledging the gap. Often disconnection arises subtly amidst conversation here, an ignored effort there until it becomes a pattern that feels insurmountable. Recognizing that the relationship has shifted without placing blame is crucial. This shared acknowledgement lays the groundwork for both partners to take responsibility for their role in the dynamic and commit to change. It's not about pointing fingers, but about saying, we've drifted and I want to work together to find our way back. Rebuilding connection starts with presence. In a world full of distractions, from work commitments to the constant pull of technology, the simple act of being fully present with your partner can be revolutionary. This means setting aside dedicated time to engage with each other, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally. Whether it's an uninterrupted conversation over dinner, a walk without phones, or a shared hobby, these moments create a space where partners can reconnect without competing distractions. Appreciation is the next cornerstone. Often, partners fall into the habit of focusing on what's lacking or what's wrong, unintentionally overlooking the small, everyday efforts that sustain the relationship. Rebuilding appreciation starts with noticing these efforts and voicing gratitude. It's not about grand gestures, but about the power of saying, thank you for taking care of that, or I really appreciate how you always support me. These expressions, however simple, are like drops of water that slowly replenish an emotional reservoir. Equally important is rediscovering curiosity about your partner. Over time, it's easy to assume you know everything about the person you share your life with. However, people are constantly evolving, shaped by their experiences, dreams, and challenges. Rebuilding connection means approaching your partner with fresh eyes, asking questions that go beyond the surface. What are they passionate about right now? What are their current fears or aspirations? These conversations reignite the sense of discovery and remind both partners of the complexity and depth they first fell in love with. Another critical element is addressing past hurts. Disconnection and a lack of appreciation often stem from unresolved conflicts or lingering resentment. These unspoken wounds create barriers to intimacy and trust. Rebuilding requires a willingness to bring these issues to light, not to rehash them, but to heal. This means listening to your partner's perspective without defensiveness, validating their feelings, and where necessary, offering genuine apologies. Healing is not about erasing the past, but about creating a shared understanding that allows both partners to move forward. Physical intimacy also plays a significant role in rebuilding connection. While emotional intimacy is the foundation, physical touch, whether it's a hug, holding hands, or something more intimate, acts as a powerful reinforcement of closeness and affection. It's a way of saying, I see you and I'm here with you without words. Rebuilding this aspect of the relationship may require patience, especially if there has been tension or distance, but small gestures can pave the way for deeper physical and emotional bonds. Rebuilding also involves fostering shared experiences. When couples first come together, much of their connection is built on creating memories, shared adventures, milestones, and challenges overcome together. Over time, those shared experiences can dwindle, leaving a relationship that feels stagnant. Intentionally planning activities, whether it's a weekend getaway, trying something new together, or simply cooking a meal as a team, helps reignite the sense of partnership and shared purpose. Perhaps the most transformative element of rebuilding is vulnerability. Reconnection doesn't happen through perfection, it happens through honesty. It requires sharing your fears, your hopes, and your insecurities, even when it feels risky. Vulnerability invites your partner to do the same, creating a cycle of trust and emotional intimacy. It's in these moments when walls are lowered and authenticity is shared that the deepest connections are forged. Finally, rebuilding connection and appreciation is an ongoing process. Relationships are dynamic, constantly influenced by internal and external factors. The key is to remain attentive and adaptable, continually investing in the partnership. It's about building habits of connection, such as regular check-ins, acts of kindness, and moments of gratitude that sustain the relationship through its inevitable ebbs and flows. Ultimately, rebuilding connection and appreciation is not about recreating the past, but about co-creating a future. It's a process that demands effort, but offers immense rewards, a relationship that feels alive, resilient, and deeply fulfilling. When both partners commit to this journey, they not only heal the disconnection, but also discover a love that is richer, stronger, and more enduring than before. Rebuilding connection and appreciation in a relationship requires intentional effort, vulnerability, and a commitment to growth. It starts with acknowledging the disconnection without blame and creating space for presence, where both partners can engage without distractions. Gratitude for small efforts fosters appreciation, while rediscovering curiosity about each other keeps the relationship dynamic and fresh. Addressing past hurts and offering genuine apologies heal emotional wounds, paving the way for deeper trust. Physical intimacy, shared experiences, and open communication strengthen the bond, while habits like regular check-ins and acts of kindness sustain the connection. Ultimately, rebuilding isn't about returning to what was, but co-creating a stronger, more authentic relationship that thrives on trust, understanding, and mutual care.